William Shakespeare is undoubtedly the most famous playwright in history. The Elizabethan author is credited with writing 37 plays and 154 sonnets, but how much real evidence is there that they were actually written by him? What if William Shakespeare is just one big conspiracy? Hello and welcome back to Life's Biggest Questions. I'm your host Rebecca Felgate, and today I'm asking, was William Shakespeare a real person? Now this question may seem a little bit ridiculous, but as we delve deeper, it might not seem so strange after all. Stay tuned as we try and find out more about one of literature's biggest mysteries. Before we do launch right on into the heart of this video, why don't you let me know whether or not you think Shakespeare is real? We know from church records that Aguilmus Filius Johannes Shakespeare was baptized at the Holy Trinity Church in Stratford on the 26th of April 1564, after a convenient birth date on St. George's Day 3 days prior. But just because there was indeed a William Shakespeare in Stratford-upon-Avon at the time, does it mean that the William Shakespeare that we revere to this day was real? Well, some people say no. Indeed, some say that his name is just a ruse, a pseudonym used by more famous writers under which to disguise their work. These people are generally referred to as anti-Stratfordians. One of the first people to investigate the life of the publicly adored Shakespeare was James Wilmot, a scholar who wished to write a biography of the famous playwright in 1781. Quite the sleuth, Wilmot set out to find evidence for the iconic Shakespeare in and around his hometown, but he found nothing. No correspondence, no notes in his handwriting, nothing. In fact, it seems that Shakespeare was a low-born country boy who had a basic education, although there is no evidence he actually even attended the nearby King's New School. A lot of anti-Stratfordians believe that there is no way that a boy from a working-class family could write in the way that William Shakespeare did, especially considering his understanding of Latin and Greek. Instead, they think William Shakespeare was actually a disguise thought up by a high-born writer or philosophical thinker, offering examples such as Francis Bacon, Christopher Marlowe, Edward de Vere, or even Queen Elizabeth. Some people think that as Shakespeare's name has been spelled differently on a number of different works signed by the so-called author, this means that perhaps a group of them were in it together. As with many conspiracy theories, there are some holes in these suggestions, and pointing to any one of these single authors anyway means playing fast and loose with the timeline during which the bard wrote his works. For example, writer Christopher Marlowe suffered an untimely death when he was murdered in 1593, 13 years before Shakespeare died, and long before many of the writer's most famous texts were produced. Again, Edward de Vere, Earl of Oxford, died in 1604, but Sir Francis Bacon did hang on till 1626. Indeed, Francis Bacon seems like the most credible option. He frequently alluded to the stage in his own writing, but never officially wrote a play, as it could have affected his status as a philosopher and statesman. Why he would focus on Stratford when he lived in London is one of the many reasons this theory has some key issues. While James Wilmot and many after him have struggled to find physical evidence that William Shakespeare wrote a play, there are records of an actor by his name, as well as a number of paintings. Of course, William Shakespeare was a real person because we know what he looks like, right? Well, actually, the Chandos portrait from the early 1600s is thought to be the only true depiction of the time, although that seems reasonable as Shakespeare wasn't a member of the higher classes. If Shakespeare isn't real, then who exactly is buried in his grave, a popular tourist spot in Stratford-upon-Avon? Well, that's a good question. Nobody has officially excavated his bones, as his grave is known to be inscribed with a curse that will affect anyone who disturbs it. Handy. Historians and scholars alike have spent many years theorizing the legitimacy of William Shakespeare, and admittedly, evidence for his authoring his entire body of work is somewhat sketchy. If a conclusive answer to the authorship question over the past few hundred years has yet to be answered, it's unlikely we can crack this mystery in a few minutes on YouTube. That being said, there is evidence of a William Shakespeare existing in Stratford in the late 1500s and early 1600s, so yes, he was a real person. Whether or not he is the true author of such a vast body of seminal literature is up for debate, but most people do see the anti-Stratfordian theory as simply classism. A lot of posh snobs basically don't think a member of the lower class could have such a cultural impact. In the modern day, of course, we know that genius doesn't always correlate to social status. So guys, do you think that Shakespeare was a real person? Let me know in the comment section down below. For now, I'm your host Rebecca Felgate. Please do leave a thumbs up and stay subscribed for more Life's Biggest Questions. I'll catch you guys in the next video, but for now, stay curious, stay alert, and never ever stop questioning.